Good morning, Hillsiders. Good morning, friends. It's good to enter into a presence with you guys this morning virtually. It's a special day. After the service, we have the opportunity to witness the wedding of our dear Brian and Sunny. So, super stoked for that, and I figured we'd use that as an opportunity today to reflect a bit on Swedenborg's concept of conjugal love. Anyways, there will not be coffee hour because the wedding will be at noon, as I said. So, sorry if you can't make it to the wedding. I hope you're still well and we get a chance to touch base. Now, let's enter into our usual state of centering. Let's take some deep breaths. Let's make sure we're sitting comfortably. There's not too much tension. Let's make ourselves aware of this moment. Our body, our mind. Sensations. Let's be with them and accept them fully. I invite you to be conscious of your heart. Realize that it is part of your body in this moment. I invite you to visualize your heart. And at the very center of your heart, let's visualize a yin and yang. Except the colors are red and blue. And with each breath that you take in, that yin and yang becomes more and more radiant and bigger. Until it fills your whole body and goes beyond your body to fill everything around you. Going further even than that and encompassing everything that there is. With your heart at the center. Now have our readings for today. First reading is from the Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verses 1 through 15. I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valleys. As a lily among brambles, so is my love among maidens. As an apple tree among the trees of the wood, So is my beloved among young men. With great delight I sat in his shadow, and his fruit was sweet to my taste. He brought me to the banqueting house, and his intention toward me was love. Sustain me with raisins, refresh me with apples, for I am faint with love. From John chapter 2, verses 2 through 12. On the third day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water," and they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs, in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. From Swedenborg's Divine Love and Wisdom, section 402. In the created universe and in every detail of it, there is a marriage between what is good and what is true. This is because what is good is a matter of love, and what is true is a matter of wisdom. And these two exist in the Lord, from whom everything was created. We can see how this marriage happens in us, reflected in the union of our heart with our lungs, since the heart corresponds to love, or what is good, and the lungs to wisdom, or what is true. We can see from their union how love, or volition, pledges itself to wisdom or discernment, and later leads it or enters into a kind of marriage with it. It pledges itself by preparing a home or room for wisdom, and it leads it by a marriage that takes place through desires. Then it brings wisdom with it into its house. So it's probably pretty obvious why I chose to talk about marriage today. Like I said, I'm really excited for Brian and Sunny's wedding, and it seemed appropriate to have the wedding at Cana be one of our readings. Not because I want people to get really drunk at the wedding, although, you know, yeah, keep yourself in check, please. But because it's a really kind of beautiful and deeply correspondential story that's kind of perplexing when you first read it to some people. And of course, there's been countless interpretations of what's up with this miracle that Jesus performs of turning water into wine. There's, you know, so many ideas as to why would this be his first big demonstration of his miraculous powers. And it goes on and on and on, why there's all of these questions. And to me, a question that is often overlooked is the question of who is actually getting married. It's the wedding at Cana. And we focus on Mary and Jesus and the servants and the wine and the chief steward, who's basically, you know, DJing. And it's never mentioned who is actually getting married, who's the bride and groom. And as many of you know, Swedenborg uses the image of marriage quite a lot, as we just heard in our third reading. And he has a whole book on it, Conjugial Love. And it's quite beautiful, because rather than being an instruction manual about marriage, which would probably suck anyways because it's written by a lifelong bachelor, it's a beautiful, beautiful illustration of this alchemical union that happens within us. He has this idea that everything in nature corresponds to the union of love and wisdom. And he devotes this whole book on how the relationship between humans, including romance and sexuality, is an image of that union between us and the divine, and between love and wisdom within us, who he would say are the means of that process. And it's interesting because the book starts out with these different characters in a vision of Swedenborg's, who all have their own belief in what union with God, life after death, etc., look like. And one person believes that it consists in praising God, and he is sent to that heaven and he loses his mind completely, and he wants to get out of it. Another believes that it's a place of recreation where you just dine with biblical celebrities, and just the other one, he can't stand it, and you know, he wants to leave. They turned out to be really bad company. And then Swedenborg jumps right in and starts talking about marriage and love and sexuality, things that many folks within the Western tradition would have considered to be promiscuous. And yet he says that they are at the core of these correspondential images of our union with God. In fact, an interesting piece in Swedenborg is he goes so far to say that in the grand human, the highest heavens that are closest to the divine are actually the genitals. And when we look at this book as, once again, being a book that talks about an inner process that so deeply illustrates what happens when we unite with the divine, it's really important to understand that in order to enter into what Swedenborg calls conjugial love, and he uses that phrase. He uses that phrase intentionally. It's not conjugal love. It's a very specific spiritual state. And I think it's very important to remember that we do not have to be married. We don't have to be even in a romantic or sexual relationship in order to experience that inner alchemy of conjugal love. It's a process of marrying love and wisdom, which are the primary characteristics of God, and in fact are God, within ourselves. Now, when we look at the image of the wedding at Cana again, sorry, I'm looking through my notes. Yeah, there we go. I'm reading from my tablet, or reading my notes from my tablet, and it's doing that thing where the screen becomes dim. When we look at the wedding at Cana and the question of who's getting married, they're omitted. One of the things I like to think is that part of the reason is that because we are both the bride and the groom. We are the ones that are reading it and are at the same time participating in it. I have a good friend who is a fellow minister. He's convinced that the marriage is actually a marriage between Jesus and the disciples. And there's some really cool things to say about that, some really deep stuff. This is in part because it appears that the identity of the bride and groom are omitted. And then it goes, what Jesus did here was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. And then they start their traveling ministry. So if you thought that the story makes Jesus look really good, it's even cooler if you think about it that way. First practitioner of gay marriage. But in all seriousness, I do think that the overall image we get here is an interaction of love and wisdom, and as they occur within us. And I kind of would invite us to just picture for a moment. Picture Jesus at the wedding. Maybe he's a little bit tipsy. And picture him dancing and loving and inviting you to be his bride, to be his groom, into that marriage of love and wisdom. Now, of course, today we celebrate that loving union between Mr. Brian and Miss Sunny, soon to be Mrs. Sunny. And it's really just beautiful to see their love and how each of them brings their own twist of love and of wisdom into the relationship. And I say twist because, of course, the core of Swedenborgian ideology, philosophy, theology is that love and wisdom as we experience them are in fact God. And I just love to see them as an image of that union. And of course, we all wish Brian and Sunny an amazing partnership with love and full of blessings. And once again, let's use this celebration as an image of our own marriage to the divine. Now, as we wrap things up, let's once again get into a state of centeredness. Let's forget what I just said. Let's forget the readings. Let's for a moment forget everything. And just be. And let's now focus our attention either internally or visually on the open word. Sitting on an altar. And inviting us into union. So mote it be. Thank you very much. I hope to see some of you at the wedding, which of course will be socially distanced and outside. And I just hope you have an excellent week. Enjoy the sun, stay safe, don't start any fires, and be well. Hope to see you at one of our groups. Once again, refer to the newsletter or my other emails for the links for that. All right, be well, peace and power.